Imagine having to memorize 3,000 years of human history by tomorrow morning.
Right. And your entire career, your entire future depends on getting it right.
Exactly. And you have 2 hours. That is it.
It sounds impossible.
It does. But right now, over 2.6 million people are doing exactly that. They're using this single YouTube video to survive, honestly, one of the most brutal academic gauntlets on the planet.
And it's the sheer scale of that pressure that makes this whole phenomenon so compelling. I mean, we are looking at an ecosystem where knowledge isn't just, power, it is strict economic survival.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we are doing a deep dive today into a piece of digital media that has just absolutely exploded since it was published in January of 2026.
Yes, it really has.
It's a video from a wildly popular YouTube channel called One Shot SSC. And the title tells you pretty much everything you need to know. It's called One Shot, Complete Ancient History.
Right. The promise is right there in the title.
Yeah. They are promising to compress the entirety of ancient human civilization into a single, hyper-efficient study session, under 2 hours.
Which is staggering.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And with millions of views and thousands of likes, it is clearly hitting a nerve. So for you listening, if you've ever felt overwhelmed by a massive project or just an impossible stack of reading, you really need to hear how millions of students are tackling thousands of years of history in less than 2 hours.
To really grasp the mechanics of what this video is doing, though, we have to establish the stakes for the people who are actually watching it.
Right. Who is this for?
Well, the description explicitly targets candidates for a very specific alphabet soup of Indian competitive exams. We're talking about the UPSC, SSC, NDA, TET, and state PCS.
Which, just to clarify for the listener who might not be familiar with that landscape, these are not your average end-of-semester pop quizzes.
No, not at all. The UPSC, the Union Public Service Commission, is notoriously one of the toughest examinations in the world.
Yeah, I was looking at the numbers.
We are talking about a pass rate of less than 1%. It is the primary gateway to the most prestigious government and civil service jobs in India.
So we were talking about, future diplomats, administrators, and police officers.
And teachers, too. TET and NET are the mandatory exams if you want to become an educator in that country.
Wow.
And the thing is, ancient history is just one small fraction of the vast, intimidating syllabus these candidates have to conquer.
Right. They don't have the luxury of spending months pondering the nuances of ancient texts.
Exactly. They can't get lost in the poetry of a bygone era. They need hard, testable facts, and they need them organized with flawless efficiency.
Which brings up the first massive logistical nightmare for the creators of this video. I mean, how do you even begin a timeline that stretches back to the literal dawn of humanity?
It's a huge challenge.
You have to get these panicked students from, caves to complex urban centers without wasting a single second.
Well, what's fascinating here is how they handle the pacing right out of the gate. It is a masterclass in ruthless prioritization. In just the first 20 minutes of a nearly 2-hour video, the instructor blows through the entire sweeping saga of early human history.
20 minutes.
20 minutes. And then lands squarely in the Indus Valley civilization by the 20-minute mark.
Wait, really? Condensing all of human origins into a 20-minute blur. I mean, that isn't really learning history, is it?
It's a very different approach.
It's like an elevator pitch for humanity. You're entirely skipping the human experience. It feels like we're just giving them the bare minimum cheat codes to pass a multiple choice test.
I get that criticism, but what's fascinating here is the deliberate choice to strip away that narrative fluff.
Fluff. I mean, the origins of our species isn't exactly fluff.
From an academic standpoint, no. But when you only have 20 minutes to cover millennia for an exam, you can't tell campfire stories about the daily struggles of hunter-gatherers.
Right. The test doesn't care about the campfire stories.
Exactly. The visual language of the video immediately shifts to highly structured data points. The screen just fills with lists of specific archaeological sites, the exact types of stone tools discovered there, rigid chronological boundaries.
It's the mechanization of history.
Yes. It serves a critical psychological function for the learner.
What do you mean?
Well, staring down the barrel of a massive exam syllabus creates a very real cognitive paralysis.
Oh, for sure. The dread is real.
Right. So by reducing the sprawling, messy origins of humanity into a 20-minute finite checklist of tangible objects and locations, the video actually strips away that dread. It tells the viewer that this subject is manageable. You don't need to be a cultural anthropologist today. You just need to know these specific parameters to survive tomorrow.
Okay, I see that. It's a survival checklist for the modern test taker.
Exactly.
But once you build the physical cities, like once you establish the bricks and mortar of the Indus Valley, the timeline has to tackle a much more abstract problem.
The ideology.
Yeah, you have to explain the minds of the people living in those cities. And
Yeah.
tracking the rapid evolution of human philosophy and religion, I mean, that is where this video's compression tactics are really put to the test.
Because you were transitioning from physical architecture to ideological architecture, the testable data points become significantly more complex.
Right, because after covering the Indus Valley and then moving through the Vedic Age at 27.3, the video hits the formation of early states.
The Mahajanapadas, at around the 36.54 mark.
Exactly. And then it hits two massive philosophical shifts in a ridiculously tight window.
It's very abrupt.
It really is. We are talking about the entire birth, life, and foundational concepts of Buddhism covered, starting at 42.30. That gives it roughly 9 minutes.
8 minutes for Buddhism.
Yeah. And then, without even pausing for breath, the instructor pivots straight into Jainism at 51.25.
The sequencing of that transition, though, it's not accidental. The creator of this content is synthesizing a very specific chain of cause and effect.
I mean,
Well, you cannot truly understand the emergence of those religious movements without first establishing the societal hierarchies of the preceding Vedic age.
right, the caste system and all that.
Exactly. And the political consolidation of those early states, the Mahajanapadas. The timeline is engineered deliberately to link the structure of society directly to the ideological shifts of the people.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting to me. I love the idea of a logical chain of cause and effect. I
Yeah.
do. But doing it at this speed, it feels like historical speed dating.
Speed dating, that's a good way to put it.
Right, like you sit down, you get the absolute bare bones highlights of Buddhism,
Yeah.
the Eightfold Path, a couple of key locations. Then a bell rings, and suddenly you're shifting over to the core tenets of Jainism.
It is incredibly fast.
Doesn't this rapid-fire pacing run a massive risk of blurring these two incredibly distinct, massive belief systems into one big philosophical soup for the listener? I mean, if I'm cramming this at 2 a.m., how do I keep it all straight?
That is the inherent danger of hypercompression. But the video mitigates that risk through its visual presentation.
Oh, by using tables and charts.
Yes. Covering Buddhism in 9 minutes means they are actively stripping away the deep theology. They are turning faith into a data matrix.
Wow.
On screen, the student isn't seeing a nuanced exploration of enlightenment. They are likely looking at a grid founder, location of enlightenment, core text, and causes of decline.
So they are mechanizing religion just like they mechanized the stone tools earlier?
Yes, exactly. And to prevent that philosophical soup you mentioned, they use the concept of teaching by contrast.
Okay.
By stacking Buddhism and Jainism back to back, immediately following the Vedic age, the student is forced to look at the differences.
Oh, I see.
You learn Jainism strictly as a comparative response to Buddhism. It becomes a game of spot the difference. Who believed in extreme asceticism versus the middle path? Which councils were held where?
So it lacks theological depth, but it is highly efficient for a test.
Precisely. A test that is only going to ask you to identify which historical figure sat under which tree.
Right. The UPSC is not going to grade you on your personal journey to nirvana.
Right.
It just wants the coordinates.
It just wants the coordinates.
So once these profound ideological foundations are locked into the student's short-term memory, the video shifts gears again. Because ideas need infrastructure to spread.
They do.
And the curriculum begins its march through the pure, hard consolidation of political power.
This is where we see the overarching wave of ancient geopolitics really take center stage in the video.
It is a rapid succession of ancient superpowers. The video kicks off this era with the Magadha expansion at 58.1c, and then we are off to the races.
It moves very quickly from there.
We march right into the Mauryan Empire at 1.04.09,
Yeah.
followed immediately by the fragmentation of the post-Mauryan age, then the reunification under the Gupta Empire at 1.18.10, and finally the reign of Harshvardhana at 1.27.35. It's relentless.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, grouping these specific dynasties into one continuous block back-to-back like this, it forces the learner to see the rise and fall of empires not as isolated trivia questions.
Right, they aren't just random facts.
Exactly. It frames them as a continuous, interconnected system of power-changing hands. The student is watching geopolitics evolve in real time.
It's like a relay race of kings. One dynasty runs their lap, they build the heavy machinery of the state, establish the task routes, and then they hand the baton or violently drop it to the next era.
To inhabit your relay race metaphor, The baton being passed here is the mechanism of centralized taxation and military control.
Okay, break that down for me.
The Magadha expansion acts as the starting gun. Then the Mauryans build the roads required to collect the taxes and manage a massive state.
Right.
When the baton drops during the post-Mauryan fragmentation, the student sees what happens when central control dissolves.
The power vacuum.
Yes. And then the Guptas pick that baton back up to build an even larger treasury. The student is essentially tracking the flow of money and power across centuries.
So what does this all mean for the panicked student staring at their screen?
Bro.
Are the millions of viewers actually absorbing those grand, sweeping patterns of geopolitical power? Are they feeling the historical weight of the Mauryan Empire giving way to the Guptas?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because let's be real, this structure feels like a highly effective trick to just forcefully cram a massive list of rulers, dates, and capital cities into a tired brain before exam day.
We have to be realistic about cognitive load under pressure. The student's interaction with the video is almost certainly tactical.
They're just mining it for answers.
They're mining the video for multiple choice answers, yes.
However,
The brilliance of this specific one-shot method is that by organizing the raw data into that continuous narrative wave, your relay race, the rote memorization, becomes scientifically easier to achieve.
because the brain remembers a story better than a random list of facts.
Precisely. If you try to memorize a random list of 50 kings, your brain will reject it.
Oh, absolutely. I'd forget it in 5 minutes.
But if you frame it as a story of a rising empire that gets too big, collapses, and is rebuilt by a new family, the dates and names suddenly have a scaffolding to cling to.
The narrative isn't there to make them appreciate history. The narrative is just the delivery mechanism for the data.
Exactly.
They come for the cheat codes, but they accidentally learn the arc of history
Right.
just to make the cheat codes work. That is brilliant.
And it's highly effective.
But there is a massive geographic blind spot in this syllabus so far. I mean, if you're creating a test prep video for a pan-Indian civil service, meaning you are targeting candidates from the northernmost borders all the way down to the southern tip of the subcontinent, you can't just focus on the northern empires.
No, you can.
You need a unified historical identity.
Yeah.
So how does this video stitch the southern kingdoms into this incredibly tight timeline before the clock runs out?
It addresses that geographic necessity in its final chapters. To be a commercially viable and comprehensive tool for state-level exams, the state PCS mentioned in the description, it simply must close that loop.
And it does. The video ensures this southern expansion by dedicating the final stretch to the Sangam age at 1.37.17. And it all culminates with the massive Vijayanagar Empire right at the end.
At 1.43.11, yes.
It proves that the creators know exactly who is watching. A candidate in Tamil Nadu and a candidate in Uttar Pradesh are taking exams that demand a complete nationwide historical perspective.
Which raises an important question about the ultimate utility of knowledge in our modern society.
Well, how so?
Well, the deliberate, calculated inclusion of the Sangam age and the Vijayanagar Empire right at the very end proves that this video is masterfully engineered to meet the rigid requirements of the state exams.
Right.
Knowledge here isn't being packaged as a tool for personal enlightenment or academic curiosity or even cultural preservation. It's a tool for career survival and upward mobility.
The aha moment here is realizing that history isn't a fixed story, it's a utility. This video proves that for millions of people, ancient history is not a study of the past. It is a literal economic transaction required to secure a future in the middle class.
It is the ultimate transactionalization of education.
Wow.
And tools like this video democratize access to that transaction. You no longer need an expensive private tutor to tell you what will be on the test.
Right, you just need a smartphone, an internet connection, and a couple of hours.
Exactly. It levels the playing field for millions of rural or lower-income candidates.
But I want you, the listener, to really think about the stakes of that transaction for a second. This isn't casual learning for a trivia night. The target audience for this video includes our future public servants.
The people who run the infrastructure.
Yes, people whose careers dictate how society functions. So I have to push back a little here. Does this high-pressure, checklist approach to history create well-rounded administrators and teachers? Or does it run the risk of reducing the incredible richness of a culture's legacy into a mere hurdle?
A hurdle to jump over for employment.
Right, just an obstacle you have to clear to get a government paycheck.
It is a profound tension. Because democratizing the baseline of knowledge is undeniably powerful.
Sure.
But when you reduce the art, the poetry, and the lived reality of the Vijayanagar Empire or the Vedic Age to a color-coded table on a YouTube video, you do flatten the culture.
You lose the soul of it.
You learn it, you spend that knowledge on the exam paper like currency, and then very likely your brain discards it to make room for the next syllabus.
You give me a passing grade, I give you the dates of the Gupta Empire.
Exactly.
But, we cannot dismiss the sheer ingenuity required to build a tool like this. The ability to distill thousands of years from the literal dawn of early history and the first stone tools, all the way through the philosophical revolutions of Buddhism, down to the southern expansion of the Vijayanagar Empire into a sub-2-hour digital sprint, is a monumental achievement of synthesis.
It is a masterclass in strategic learning and information architecture.
So how do you actually use this?
What do you mean?
Like, the next time you, the listener, are feeling bogged down by a massive project at work, an impossible syllabus, or just an infinite amount of reading you have to get through, think about this one-shot method.
It's highly applicable.
Ask yourself, how can you strip away the excess narrative fluff in your own tasks? Instead of staring at the mountain of data, how can you find the underlying logical staircase, the cause and effect that connects it all together?
Draw your own map.
Right. Build your own narrative delivery mechanism and make the information work for you.
And as you think about applying that ruthless efficiency to your own life, consider this final thought.
What's that?
If over 2.6 million aspiring civil servants, teachers, and police officers are currently learning the entirety of their ancient history through this exact same 100-minute digital filter, how will the standardized, highly compressed version of the past ultimately shape the way an entire generation governs, teaches, and views their own identity?
Wow. Yeah, it really makes you rethink what happens when millions of people are handed the exact same set of cheat codes for reality. You might just be rewriting the cultural memory of an entire nation, one multiple choice question at a time.